night was as black as the ace of spades. I was working rather late one night and working through to early hours in the morning. I always worked alone at these late hours, and it was a routine. I was used to it because I was on a farm, and on farms you'd have to work at these late hours sometimes, depending on your schedule. So on this night I was working, and I'd been working on the crop fields and my tractor. And this farm was out in the middle of nowhere. There was no lights or anything like that. There was literally nothing to brighten anything out there. So that's why I call it as black as the ace of spades. So I used a large spotlight on top of my car and, as a light to keep whatever was ahead of me lit. And that was the only bit of light that I'd had at all. I could only see what was ahead of me. In the past, I'd taken a torch and used a torch to light my way, sometimes if I needed to get out of the tractor to have a cigarette break or something, but on this particular time I'd forgot to bring my torch, so I was going about my regular routine, and I was doing my job, driving along in my tractor, and I was out there working. It'd probably be a couple of hours that I was out there, but the tractor was that loud, it would overpower any sound that was outside. Any kind of noise that could have happened outside, the tractor would have overpowered that with the noises it makes when it's moving, and, with the noises it makes. And so it was pretty weird, but all of a sudden my spotlights turned off and my tractor stopped working. And I was in complete darkness, sitting in this really high tractor. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was possibly, it could have been because the tractor was so old, it might have just been having a minor issue due to that. So I tried turning the key a few times to try and start it again, but it wouldn't start. And I didn't want to get out of the tractor and try to look if something was, physically wrong with it, because I didn't really have a clue of what was happening. I hadn't heard any noise outside of the tractor when it was turned on. The tractor was so loud, so it probably would have blocked out any noise if it had hit something, but I didn't feel any kind of jolt, as if it had hit something, but and I also didn't have a torch on me at all, so of all nights that I needed a torch the most, I unfortunately had forgot to bring it. So I was in complete darkness, and I did not want to get out of the tractor. And my car was actually parked a long way away from where my tractor was in the field, and I didn't want to. I didn't even know where it was. So without any light, I was very hesitant about getting out, and without a light source. My watch also said it was 4 a.m. in the morning, so I was a bit adamant on staying in the tractor and waiting out till the sunrise had, come up, but it got very boring very quickly, and it seemed like time started to drag on a bit, and also it started to freak me out a bit. I was only quite young and out in the middle of nowhere in complete darkness, and as much as I didn't want to get out of the tractor, I had to go look for my car. So eventually, after waiting a while, I got out of the tractor and began to search for my car. So I started to walk along the field, and I tried to backtrack my steps, and just by memory, without seeing where I was going, I just tried to remember the way I came, and hopefully I'd just bump into my car. So as I was walking and backtracking my steps, I began to hear slight noises coming from the tractor. It sounded like someone or something was doing something to the tractor. I had no idea what it could have been, and I didn't want to find out, so I started to pick up the pace a bit. I tried to stay positive and shrug it off as just probably the tractor being old, maybe making slight noises. I didn't want to think it could be something else, but as I tried to shrug it off, I just felt fear slowly creep into my heart. And that fear intensified when those noises near the tractor actually stopped, and it actually a new noise. Actually, I heard it was actually footsteps, and they were coming towards me rather quickly. So I started to quicken my pace a bit because I didn't want to be near whatever was coming near me, and so I distanced myself from it a bit, and it just made my skin crawl just hearing something approaching me at a fast pace like it was. It just really unsettled me, and I had goosebumps all over. I just kept on walking, and I didn't know where I was going or anything like that, but after a while I was walking very quickly and the noises had stopped, and I heard no one at all walking, so I started to feel more safe. So I kept walking, but it seemed like this canola field wouldn't end, and I couldn't find my car, and I was fed up, so I stopped, just for a second to catch my breath and take a break from the walking I'd done. And as soon as I stopped, I'd heard the sound of someone or something a little bit in the distance that was walking come to a halt, and it was a bit behind me. And when I wasn't walking and hadn't made any movements, it stopped. So this person or this thing was sneakily keeping its distance, but it was still following me. I actually thought it had stopped and that I didn't need to worry about it. But as soon as I heard the sound of that thing again, that fear came back into my heart once more. But this time there was no getting rid of the fear, because I knew something was not right. I started to worry and think, could that be a person that did something to the tractor to get me out here in the open like I am now and do something to me? I just started to get really freaked out. So I began walking, and I just kept going, and this thing started walking again too, and I heard it right behind me. So I kept on walking, but I quickened the pace a bit. But then I stopped to see if I could still hear it, because I wanted to see if it was just me. If I thought it was just me when I was walking, maybe I was making noise and I thought something else was there. But as soon as I stopped, I'd heard it was like a delay. If you make a noise, you can't make a delay if you stop. If you stop, you stop. But when I stopped, I could hear like this delay of someone else stopping as well as soon as I stopped. And it really started to freak me out. The weird thing was, if I'd walk slow and then stop, it would walk slow and stop. If I got faster, it would get faster. It was copying me. And I knew the sounds definitely weren't coming from myself. I'd thought a few times, or maybe it was coming from me, but after hearing those few sounds, I knew it wasn't me. And I'll tell you when I definitely knew it wasn't me is when I started to hear deep breathing coming from it and small growls. I'd hear this. That's what I'd hear. I'd hear this very unsettling sound coming from it. And I thought to myself, I don't like it one bit, and I don't want to be anywhere near it, because at this point, not only was it just the sound of movement, but I could hear this rather dark and eerie, heavy, deep breathing coming from whatever the hell it was. So I started to walk fast, and when I walked fast, it copied me. It started walking fast also, and the breathing got louder, and I could hear this person or this thing start to make these very unsettling, dark, evil growls. And I started to run. And I was yelling out, please leave me alone, please leave me alone. And I couldn't see where I was running, but I was just trying to run as fast as I could ahead of me just to get away from this thing. And when I started to run, it started to run really fast, and I could hear this growling get more aggressive, and I could tell that this thing was very angry. And I began to fear for my life. It wasn't long, though, before I actually, by a miracle of God, bumped into my car and got the keys out and opened the door with them, and I got in, but I looked to my side, and the door was open, and all I could see was this fast, blurred black motion of this tall, very dark figure running into my car and grabbing me and pinning me down. and the growling got very loud, and this thing was breathing, straight into my face, and it was like a fan. It was that intense, and just the smell was horrible that come from this thing's breath. And it was just right on top of me. It had me pinned down. My arms were underneath it, and it was on top of me. I call it an it, not a he or a she, because still to this day I believe it wasn't a man. It was very abnormal, the sounds and the movements of this thing, that they were just that abnormal that it surely couldn't be a man. Some of the sounds that actually had come out of its mouth gave me actual nightmares for months after the incident. I had to see a psychiatrist because of it, because I had never ever went to see anyone in that field before, but I just had to see someone after this incident because it just traumatized me that much. And but to finish this story, this thing was on top of me, and it was breathing on me, and it was trying to bite me. It was actually trying to bite me, and I thought it was, I felt like it was trying to bite my face and tear me to shreds. So I just managed to get one arm free, and I got my hand out from underneath it, and I just stuck my thumb in its eye. I was just feeling around its face, and as soon as I felt the eyeball, I pushed my thumb in as far as it would go, and the noise after I stuck my thumb in that thing's eye and pushed it in, the noise that this thing made, it was that eerie, it was that loud, it was this screeching sound, and it got off of me, and it ran off into the darkness. That noise still stays stuck in my head till this day, and it gave me nightmares for months. I quickly shut the door after that, and I locked it, and I drove off, and on the way out I saw no other cars or people or lights. There were no signs that pointed towards that this thing could have been a man. I never worked another night shift again in my life, and I actually quit working on farms because of it, because I'll never ever work alone again. That was the scariest night of my life, and it made me believe in the paranormal. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to my story. I just wrote that out this morning, but when I was a young kid, my uncle told me of an experience of one night when he was working in a farm, and something very creepy happened to him. And he told me that story, and I thought, one day I want to make a movie of it, or I want to, keep the story alive, because it's just so creepy. It's just frightening, absolutely frightening, that that kind of thing could even happen. So my uncle would tell me that story, and it freaked me out as a kid, and it kept me up at night. And just the story, the way he would tell it to me, it just freaked me out. And I thought I'd tell all of you guys the story and see what you think of it all. And if you want more stories, and you want me to narrate more scary stories, because I like watching narration stories, and hearing people talk of these scary stories, because the mind is a powerful thing, and you can conjure up a great imagination, and your imagination is better than whatever filmmaker or any movie could even bring to the table, because your imagination, anything exists in your mind. And if you can go to that place where you just let your imagination take over and just picture things in your mind, it's much better than a movie. It is. Because I've had things that I've had in my head, and I've made a film, and then the film doesn't live up to what's in your head, and they never will. But it's I'm just saying, I like hearing stories. Stories are a great, powerful thing, and the imagination is powerful as well. So if you want more, and you want to hear more stories, and you want to, subscribe or comment or like it or whatever you want to do, please keep me in on the lowdown of whatever you want. If you want certain stories read out, you can send your stories and I can read them. And thank you guys, and this is Spades and Redshaw, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.